So we've got an interesting and diverse group of people. Let me go back to my screen share for a moment. So we've done our introductions, but I want to flick back to my previous slide and talk about a growth collaborations of experts who work with H&I clients in the investment property sector. So what we've just heard from you collectively is that whether it's strategizing, finding, buying, developing, renovating, selling, um, every stage of that property journey is covered by someone in this room. And that same individual investor, whether they're in the residential sector, the commercial sector, or the industrial sector, needs the services of the people in this room at some point of that journey. And whether it's a 2-year journey, a 10-year journey, or a 20-year journey, they're going to need those services, right? So the notion behind BBG is that you step out of your silo, and instead of just looking at that thin slice of service that you provide, you recognize that if you put the customer at the center of your universe, that they actually need a whole range of services and advice and expertise to do the entire thing that you form part of. And the question that I want you to ask yourselves as we work through this presentation today is it better for me to stay in my silo and stick to my knitting? Or do I put the customer at the middle of the universe and recognize that I can add value by being part of an orchestrated whole, right? I don't know that there is a single correct answer to that. There's a preference, and you have to choose what makes sense for you. All right, so we've done introductions. Let me just put BBG in some kind of market context. Most business support groups, and BBG is at its core a business support group, do one of two things. They either offer you business improvement or they offer you lead generation. If you are like Tech, the Executive Connection, or YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, your primary role in life is to help CEOs of medium to large companies improve their personal performance and that of their company. If you want to join an organization like that, and I've been a member of Tech in a previous lifetime, you will spend between $15,000 and $30,000 a year. And it will cost you a day a month of your time. All right. At the other end of the spectrum, in terms of lead generation, you've got groups like BNI, and BNI does a great job, particularly for the micro business. It's a referral factory. Members are required to give a certain number of referrals. They're held to account for generating those referrals. As a result, some of them are good and some of them are rubbish. For those of you who've been in BNI, if you like that method of operation, that's probably the single strongest referral factory in the country. And we probably sit somewhere as a blend of those two. So we do seek to help our members to improve their business performance, and we do seek to help them generate introductions and referrals as an outcome of developing relationships, not as a requirement of membership, because our primary mission, our primary purpose is business growth. Okay, now what do we mean by business growth? Well, there's certain parts to it. We look for growth via helping you expand your circle of influence, both within the membership and within the group of people that we bring around these forums as guests. We look to help you generate growth by improving your business processes. So that could be profit growth, efficiency growth, service growth. We provide you with a problem-solving environment, because in my experience, for people running SMEs is that it can get pretty lonely. And just the ability to share those problems and look for solutions with a group of people that have probably experienced many of those same problems before and solved them for themselves can be invaluable. And as you develop know, like, and trust with the other members of this group, the referrals and the warm introductions happen as a natural consequence. So how do we do that? For groups like this, which have a very specific client focus, we typically have an alternating monthly or fortnightly format, and the frequency of the meeting will be up to the foundation members. But let's, for the moment, for the sake of discussion, call it alternating monthly. So every second month, there would be a public forum for members and guests. We would have a compelling guest speaker. Many of you attended JR's Sydney forum last month. So you'd have a compelling guest speaker, you'd have a think tank session, you'd do a key learnings review, and the guests in the context of this group would be the property investment influencers, the advisors, the financial planners, the accountants, the kind of people serving many HNI clients with $10 million plus to invest. So we would have some of those individual investors along if they were interested in the content of the particular speaker. But what we also want to do is connect you with the people that connect you with many potential clients. So that's the public forum. In the alternating month, we would have a members only forum. We would talk about implementing the learnings from the public forum. We'd do problem solving. We'd do KLT hot seat. KLT, our favorite acronym, know, like, and trust. Hot seat that allows you to either problem solve or educate the other members of the group on what you do and how you do it, so they are better able to understand and connect you with opportunities when they arise. So that's the how. We also have gala forums, and when COVID permits, we will go back to holding mastermind lunches where we bring speakers in for insight and inspiration. You get to mingle with members from other groups and their guests. Those events are free for our members, and they are also free for your guests. So you can use our events as a form of corporate hospitality. Obviously, if you want to buy a box at the cricket and take your clients along to watch a session of the Ashes, that's another way you can offer corporate hospitality. But the opportunity to take someone as a guest to a mastermind lunch with a compelling guest speaker on a subject of interest that takes an hour or two out of their day rather than half a day out of their weekend, I think plays a good role in you having a mix of corporate hospitality to offer. The kind of speakers we have at those events, people like Craig Rispin, Bill Cates, Ari Gelper, Dale Beaumont, they really are good. In fact, Ari Gelper, who has spoken at a couple of our events previously, is back next month in December to do a session on trust-based selling. I don't care whether you're in real estate, motor vehicles, or financial services. Ari has a very, very important message to give anyone involved in sales, and it all revolves around developing trust relationships. And if you develop trust relationships, the sale occurs as a natural consequence. It's only when you try and sell someone before they trust you that you run into problems. And someone made the comment earlier that they noticed that there's a preponderance of property investment happening within 10 Ks of where someone lives. You know, I would postulate that is because that person doesn't trust their advisor and is falling back on their own knowledge of their local market. Sorry about my dog in the background. So let's talk about a point of difference. In terms of BBG, there's a few things that differentiate us from some of the other groups that I've mentioned previously. The first one is that we employ and offer professional facilitators, people like JR in this particular group. It's not a self-managed group, it's a professionally run organisation. The second is we do have a somewhat unique structure to our meetings, which revolves around, you guessed it, KLT, developing know, like and trust. That is the building block of our organisation. And third, and I think equally importantly, we pride ourselves on our culture of generosity. So let me unpack those things a little bit for you. In terms of the professional facilitator, they are there to make sure that the meeting dynamics are good, that you as an individual member receive the individual training and support you need, but equally that you receive some level of accountability. And accountability is also important because the fact of the matter is that although we don't put any kind of quota or measurability on the giving of referrals, referrals is a zero-sum game, right? Everyone comes into the group saying, oh, I'm really looking forward to getting introductions and referrals from this group, and that's great. But unless someone is putting introductions and referrals into the group, there's none to be had. Right, so you actually have to give in order to get. Right, so someone has to watch and make sure that you're not there just to take, and that responsibility falls to the facilitator. The second part is our KLT structure. So the KLT structure revolves around someone with expertise, could be a member of the group or an external party, sharing their knowledge generously, us having a think tank to understand how that impacts on each of us, and then the KLT hot seat where people get to know, like, and trust you a little more. So I know many of you have sat through a BBG forum previously, but I think we can't have a BBG gathering without having a think tank. And so I'm going to hand over to JR. Have you picked a subject from the changes, JR, that you think would work?
So I was thinking this topic is so huge, where do we go? And I've referred to our professional Ivan because he's the man of BBG and the creator of all the ideas. And I've said to him, okay, give me something that we want to take and make value for. And seeing as we've all spent the last hour really getting to know a little bit more about each other, what if we thought about how could we collaborate? Who would we invite? What does that ideal client look like? What do we want to get out of this, a type of forum like this, so that we can start to really create something magical as a team, and then you can figure out whether this is something you want to jump on and get involved in or whether it's not. So can this forum provide value for the time you're investing because we're creating something amazing together? How does that sound? Yeah, does it sound good? Okay, amazing. So thanks, Iv, for the suggestion. Ivan and I play tag a lot. So what I'd love to do now is I've created 2 breakout rooms. I'm going to pop you into the breakout rooms. Most of you, you've all been here, really had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about each other. What I'd love you to do is do a little bit more of that if relevant, and at the same time identify what is it you would love to get out of a forum like this so that you can serve your clients in a customer-centric kind of way, solving their problems that they may have, not from just the service you provide, but across the board. So what do they look like? Customer-centric focus, and what would you want to get from a forum like this to make happen? So a couple of questions. I'll pop it in the chat box. I'm going to ask Nat to facilitate room number 1, and I'm going to ask Anna to facilitate room number 2. So lean in, get to know a little bit more about each other, and you'll come back. Geoff, what's our timing on this? Just so I know.
Let's do 15 minutes, JR.
Okay, so 15 minutes. There are 8 people in each room, which includes Ivan and Geoff. So I'll give you a 10-minute warning so that you know in terms of time. Give everyone a chance to speak because that's really important. And I'll call you back in 15 minutes to come back, and we'll do a report back and hopefully start to build what we want this particular forum to look like.